What's up, everyone? It's Matt Martin with the Grass Factor. Had a really interesting email come in, and or it may have been a comment on a video, and a viewer had asked, what kind of impact do herbicides have on bacteria and fungi levels in the soil? So I thought if there's ever a good time to talk about it, right now while we're in the spring, we're making blanket applications, it'd be the perfect time to talk about it. As you can see in the demonstration graphic here, it gives an idea of what role bacteria and fungi play in the soil, and they actually do a wide variety of things. It can be everything from nitrogen fixing, so that's going to be its ability to attract nitrogen. It's going to play in decomposition and mineralizing organic matter and actual usable nutrients, movement of or changing molecular structure of ammonium ions into nitrate ions or nitrites. And so it's important to understand that with all these things in the soil, every time we make an application, we alter this composition. So let's dive into exactly how much we actually alter with these applications. I think it goes without saying that soil biology, it plays one of the most important functions in what we do as turfgrass managers. Without life in the soil, we would be really up a creek. There wouldn't be a whole lot that we could accomplish without it. So when we start looking at the popular herbicides that are out there on the market, I figured we kind of do a range based on the study I found. It's going to cover some of the more popular products. Atrazine is going to be really popular in warm season markets. You'll see it used a lot on St. Augustine and centipede grass in particularly. I even used to use it on dormant Georgia grass and dormant Bermuda grass. It's most notably known for its ability to prevent as well as offer some post-control qualities. And what was pretty unique about this experiment here is that it shows what happens, this is to bacteria, based on a few different rates. You'll see a double recommended rate. So this is going to be double label rate at 5 days after treatment, 10 days after treatment, and 15 days after treatment. Then we'll see what a half rate looks like. And then we'll see what just a normal recommended rate looks like. And what's most interesting about this, and they even note it in the experiment, is that you actually see at a double recommended rate an increase in soil bacterial populations when compared to a normal rate or even a half rate. And this only transitions into a 15-day window, and you can see typically a gradual decline over those 15 days. But it also paints the picture of actually how much decline takes place. You can see here it is without a doubt there is a decline in bacterial populations. However, we're not seeing tremendous numbers that would leave the soil lifeless. So let's take that same study and then apply it to fungal populations. And you'll see that they specifically chose, 7 different fungal species here. And so, obviously there are hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, trillions of different varieties and colonies of microbes and bacteria and fungal. And however, these were the ones that were chosen to watch based on different types of functions they play in soil biology as it relates to overall plant performance. And what's interesting here is that when you take a baseline, so that would be our control, we're not seeing a lot of fungal populations. However, post application, 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, you kind of see scores jump all over the place. And it's the only real true decline you see would be in category G, and that would be our specific fungi that was heaviest affected. When we're looking at this, it may appear to paint the picture that what we're doing by applying these herbicides is beneficial, and I don't want to make that seem like a reality. It's definitely not. There is an impact here. This is just a very tiny cross-section of what exactly exists here. But as you can see, over a 5, 10, 15-day period, we're not getting a complete and total obliteration of biological function in the soil. So we'll move on to 2,4-D amine, which is probably the second most popular herbicide used in the market right now. Anybody that sprays a three-way herbicide, three-way broadleaf herbicide, is typically using this product. We are limited as turf managers to only 2 blanket applications a year of this product. So in reality, if we were to take max label rate and apply it twice, I think that would kind of give us like our good standard baseline as what could potentially happen if applied at once or mistakes were made. And again, what you see here is pretty interesting. Half rates had a higher impact on bacterial populations versus the normal recommended field rate. And when it goes into getting things labeled for residential lawns, there is a reason why the amount of time and effort goes into it, and it's to have data like this to show 5 days, 10 days, 15 days after treatment, bacterial levels when applied at the appropriate label rate are not having tremendous impact, and in this case, negligible impact on bacterial populations. However, at half rates and at double rates, you can see the impact on bacterial populations is much more significant. So we'll take the same study and look at it from a fungal perspective. And as you can see here, a little bit like atrazine, it dances all over the place. And again, I don't think this is to say it will necessarily increase fungal activity, but a lot of times is what we see through blanket applications of herbicide is an actual beginning movement of an increase in organic matter, which in turn, and that could be through the dying weeds that are treated. There's lots of different things that can go into it. There's lots of studies that talk about it. And then I'm not to say that's a good thing, that we need to be out there blanket spraying herbicides because it's going to increase organic matter in the soil. But I do want to make the picture clear here that by staying within the label law, the amount of damage that's done is limited and contained. We'll move on to glyphosate. Glyphosate is the big boogeyman, and here it's kind of hard to say what specific rates were used going through the trial. When you see like halved recommended field rate, that was closer to 32 ounces per acre. It was given in hectares, and so you can extrapolate out there the math as far as what a normal recommended field rate and a double recommended field rate would be. Again, the most controversial product on the market in terms of herbicides, but we can see what happens to bacterial populations when applied. Increases, especially at halved recommended field rates. So this would be guys like us that are out treating dormant Bermuda grass. You actually have an increase, albeit temporary. You do have an increase in bacterial growth. And as we look at what happens with the fungal populations, you don't see such, well, you kind of do still see such wild swings in certain species of fungi. So again, it's obvious that there is something that's taking place. There is an effect that is contained on the soil. However, it's hard to say that what is happening is exactly destructive to the soil. This is a little longer study, and so this is going to give us a 2-week, 4-week, and 6-week mark on influence on bacterial and microbial populations. And this is using a couple of the same. So we have atrazine in here. You can see atrazine has a pretty significant impact on microbial, but as we go from 2nd week to 4th week and we go from 4th week to 6th week, we are beginning to recover those microbial populations. And the same would apply also to atrazine, and they even compared paraquat in this, which is arguably the most toxic herbicide on the market. And right here, I think this is a perfect example of that. You can clearly see on this scale at a 2-week, 4-week, 6-week, when you take into account both bacteria and fungi and soil microbe populations, there's a much higher significant impact on them through a blanket application of herbicide. So when we are making our determinations on should we make a blanket herbicide application, should we make a spot treatment application, this is perfect data that we can use to determine that. And we should be able to take this data and apply it to our decision making when choosing which product we're going to apply to the lawn and what kind of impact that's actually going to have on soil life. So before we ever make a blanket application, we should always weigh the pros and cons, because there is always a con to it. And this data shows that there is a negative impact on soil life. So if possible, it would always be better to avoid a blanket application. However, weed populations, weed densities may also avoid us from being able to make that decision. And I totally get it. But in the event you do have to make that decision, this will hopefully give you some guidance on which direction to take. So again, just to kind of sum things up, obviously we need to be cognizant, we need to plan well, we need to have actions and reactions in place to manage weed populations, but again, we have to make our most educated decision possible while we're out there in the field, understand our consequences, understand the risk to reward factor. All right, everybody, I appreciate you tuning in. Have a good one.